What's going on, guys? Welcome to another episode of Smash JT. Jirard the Completionist, the Open Hand Foundation, the family drama saga is seemingly a never-ending treasure trove of fun to dive into, and this is a situation that I have been completely enthralled in. There's a lot of people who have been frustrated with the amount of videos I've made, but sorry, I'm genuinely interested to find out more about this situation and where it goes from here. And from that, it brought me to an area that I was trying really hard to avoid. Family. Smash JT. Hit that subscribe, give me a like, and check out smashjt.com for the full article talking about, like father, like son, the complex journey of the life of Jirard Khalil, Jirard the Completionist, discussing more specifically in depth his father, Charles Khalil, because in this video we're going to not just talk about his family dynamic and the situation that has publicly available information, but also, and more importantly to the story, Jirard's feelings, his own personal take on his dad that he's explained through multiple videos throughout the years, and it doesn't paint a pretty picture. I do want to give a full disclaimer before I dive into this that I don't love talking about someone's personal life, their family, and stuff like that, but if the story takes you there, you kind of have to go there. I had a lot of people in my previous video talking about the golf charity event that's seemingly still going on right now, getting frustrated that I didn't talk about his dad, and his dad's company is the one that really runs that. I just blamed it all on Jirard, and it wasn't Jirard that was doing it, and I understood that. I was trying to avoid talking about someone outside of YouTube, and I feel like I can't keep doing that. At this point, I need to break through and talk about the other information that we have so we can paint a full picture of what exactly is going on for us all to better understand it. And I don't know really how to say this nicely, so I'm just going to come out and say it. With all the research that I've done, the information that I've seen, and more importantly, the videos that display Jirard Khalil talking about his dad, at the end of the day, my feeling of who his dad is, Charles Khalil, is a dick. Jirard Khalil, widely known as the Completionist in the gaming community, has recently faced significant backlash regarding his involvement as a director in the Open Hand Foundation charity. While this controversy has sparked intense debate and scrutiny, understanding Jirard's past, especially his relationship with his father, offers critical insights to the current predicaments. Over the years, Jirard has shared numerous stories that paint a picture of mistreatment and depression, factors that could have influenced his journey and, more importantly, his decisions. That during the call that Jirard had with Carl Jobst and Muda from Some Ordinary Gamers, he specifically focused on saying, please don't involve my family. Please don't talk about them. Let's just limit it to me. And I found that interesting because it almost kind of showed a dynamic that he knew he had something to hide if you start diving into his family. And I don't love the idea of doing that because sometimes, more often than not, it feels like it's a low blow. But again, in this situation, I feel like it's quite justified, and I would not be doing my due diligence if I just ignored it.
Before I let you guys go, I just want to reiterate, if you could just keep the family stuff to a minimum of like this topic, the dementia stuff, it's not that easy. It's never been easy, and it's very personal, and that's why this whole thing has been so difficult.
I'm keeping it to the charity and like the money and why it hasn't moved. I won't personally be mentioning anybody family related and the personal hell that you honestly had to go through. That's like a fucking no-no for me personally. So yeah, on my end, and I'm sure on Carl's end, that's something that obviously I think we can abide by. That's just an ethics thing for any journalist, really.
I feel like aside from the Billy Mitchell stuff, I'm usually not too, I generally keep it pretty factual, or I don't. I'm not like a drama. I do talk about drama, but I'm like a Keemstar or something. Like I don't go too hard. I just sort of keep it pretty factual, and I don't really provide much commentary or anything on top of that. So I won't do anything that you'll find completely disrespectful,
And this is important because Charles Khalil is fairly wealthy. He's well off, and it's kind of odd on surface level to see someone who's well off do anything involving a charity and potential fraud with that until you dive a little bit deeper. The Khalil family, notably Charles Khalil, has been involved in notable legal and business affairs, primarily in the Los Angeles area in California. Charles owns at least 2 gas stations and convenience stores located in affluent neighborhoods of Beverly Hills and Santa Monica, which have garnered media attention due to their high gas prices. The land these stores are situated on is also highly valuable, estimated in the millions. Around 2013, while operating under a Circle K franchise agreement, Charles attempted to sell these properties and the land for approximately $18 million, leading to a lawsuit by Circle K for breach of contract. The outcome of this lawsuit saw some claims dismissed, while others continued. As one of the lawsuit's time frame, the properties were still under Charles' ownership and likely increased significantly more in value. The Khalil's family wealth is structured in a trust named after Charles and his late wife Karen. Interestingly, the family has established a charity but has not actively used its funds for any donations, raising questions about their philanthropic intentions. And this right here creates a gigantic rabbit hole of information to dive into of why a wealthy family would use charity for malintentions, for use philanthropy as a veil over what their true intentions were. And that's something that, while I'll touch on it in this video, it would be like an hour long to talk about the specifics of that. Just take my word for it. There's a lot of weird stuff that goes on if you have a lot of money and you want to start a charity. Mostly, it's for tax purposes, but definitely not limited to. Now, this is why I bring all that up. Jirard has a relationship with Charles Khalil, his dad, that is interesting. And here's a tidbit that I heard. This was posted initially on Reddit, but someone found it from the Game Grumps when he was just providing an anecdote about his dad. And it's interesting if you listen to how he frames the conversation to make it sound like it's a funny thing, it's a funny story, when in reality, it's just a coping mechanism for an awful childhood.
That always made me laugh is like my dad, like in high school, all my friends, they all had like great relationships with their fathers, right? They all like had good relationships to the point where like, you know, they go see movies with their parents and go hang out and whatnot. My dad doesn't watch movies. He doesn't like sports. Like, hey, it was a screw attack.
Nice.
He doesn't like any of that stuff. So, and he doesn't even like music. He just likes business and money and success.
Wow.
So, you know, I try and like relate to my dad and have some fun jokes, and they never work. And on Father's Day, I was
Wait, hold on.
So on Father's Day one year, I was like, you know what? I think my dad and I have a good relationship. I'm gonna do it. I'm gonna like do a joke, not like a prank, not like a gotcha dad. Just like I'm gonna try and be funny with my dad.
I'm gonna inflict a joke upon this man.
I'm gonna try and be funny with my father, which is a very bold thing to do when nothing is funny to him.
You tell your brother, but he's like, oh no, that's a bad idea.
Oh no, I just went for it. I said, I'm gonna go for it. You know, I was 18, 19 thinking, hey, this is like, we've been through a lot. We can like have this relationship. And so for Father's Day, I wrote on the Father's Day card for him, I wrote Chuck, because Chuck is like a nickname for Charles.
Yeah.
Right.
And so my dad, he loves cards. That's his thing. Like, if you're ever like, how do I impress Charles Khalil? You give him like one of those Hallmark cards that always start out with like, Dad, what is the meaning of the word father? Like, he loves those cards. It's his favorite fucking thing. And so I always get him the best cards because it's his favorite. And so I wrote Chuck on the card. I gave it to him. My dad sees the word Chuck, he doesn't even get mad. He tears the card into shreds.
Wow.
Puts it in the trash and goes, I did not work my entire life for you to call me Chuck. My name is Charles and I am your father. Never do that ever again.
Wow.
And I was like, all right, note taken. Never ever try and have an endearing joke with your father.
Hell yeah, no problem. That's $10,000 of therapy right there.
Yeah, absolutely.
That's not a funny story. That's not something you joke about and laugh about. That's kind of like heartbreaking. I hear that and I'm just like, that's a son that's trying so hard to be accepted by his dad, to relate to his dad, and he just can't find a way to do it. And Reddit user Yes You Suck put it best when he said, as for framing bad memories as a fun story, this is very commonly done by people that suffer abuse. It's their subconscious way of convincing themselves that the bad experiences that they had were not that bad, and you can always find a bright side of everything. In other words, it helps them comfort themselves. It's a coping mechanism. You don't want to remember your childhood as awful, horrendous, and my dad basically mentally abused me growing up because he was an awful person. You want to frame it as, oh, we were just joking. That's just how my dad was. Just a jokester Charles. It's just really hard to hear that in the tone that he presents it, because he's clearly trying to cope with that upbringing. And the reason why I bring this all up is because it brings us full circle to, he's just looking so hard for his dad's approval that it provides us some insight of maybe, potentially, if there was fraudulent activity with this charity, would it be so far-fetched to think Jirard might push the limits a little bit, might go out of bounds a little bit, just to get acceptance from his dad? Is that so crazy to think? To me, it's not. And that's why I feel like it's important to bring up the background, as much as Jirard doesn't want us to talk about his family. The impact of a troubled parental relationship on a child's psychological development is profound. For Jirard, the challenges he faced in his formative years likely contributed to a sense of resilience, but also a complexity in dealing with personal and professional relationships. The shadow of depression, a common aftermath of such experiences, may have influenced his decision-making processes and his ability to approach the conflicts and pressures that he faces every day, normally and naturally. And this is something that really stands out to me. If you have a tough upbringing and you're severely depressed because you never got acceptance from your father, you might be pushed to do things that may be a little bit suspect.
I booked all these shows with you. I'm almost at the beginning of my new career as an actor, and you're kicking me out because I can't make one fucking date. My sister is getting married. And they said, go talk to her, not our problem. So my first instinct, and the only time I've ever done this, was, I'm gonna go talk to my dad. Because in my mind, my dad's like, oh, you're fucked. And you know what? This was his reaction. Looks like you should have been an engineer. Oh, he's like fucking like Tevye from Fiddler on the Roof, like, I told you should have been a lawyer. I called my sister and told her what happened, and she was like, absolutely not, you're coming to the wedding. I'm not gonna fight with my sister, it's your fucking wedding. When family says you jump, you jump. That's just something I've had to deal with, as you can tell with my insane lifestyle at this point. So I went back to the school and I said, well, I'm not doing it. And they said, well, there's the door. And I said, okay. And I became depressed. I dropped out of half of my school program to finish out early. And I was so low in my life because I was failing fast. Opportunity after opportunity I was dropping. I put in all my blood, sweat, and tears, and this thing wasn't working. What the fuck am I gonna do? That is when I became obsessed with selling video games.
And that one is from the Cat Icarus, when he went on stage on tour talking about his experiences in life and just dealing with his dad. Again, joking about the situation when at the end of the day, his dad's just a dick. And he's trying his best to explain it away in a joking manner so that people think that it's not that way, and maybe he can convince himself that his dad is just so cool and loves him so much that there's no issues there. But I'm watching this and I'm listening to it and I'm just like, man, this is hard to watch, and I genuinely feel for him. Jirard's involvement in the Open Hand Foundation charity situation, which has led to plenty of community backlash, can be viewed through the lens of his past experiences. While there's no direct correlation suggesting that his troubled past led to the creation of a potential charity scam, It is possible that the coping mechanisms and behaviors developed from his early life experiences played a role in how he's been navigating the complexities of this situation. And what I mean by that is the apology video, and I use that word very lightly, is not even an apology. It's a backhanded slap attempt to get out of whatever he possibly may have been involved with and trying to rid himself of the situation and move on from it without accepting any of the blame. And by deflecting instead of saying, I'm sorry, I was wrong, and thanking the people that brought this to their attention, he instead attacks them, goes on the offense, and threatens to sue them for defamation of character. Which, ironically, the more this goes on, and after Carl and Muda released the full call, I feel like they could try to countersue him for defamation of character because he was so abrasive in trying to make them look bad for just bringing a situation to light. But I digress. Jirard the Completionist's journey is a complex interplay between personal history and present circumstances. His relationship with his father, marked by mistreatment and depression, offers a context that helps explain, though not justify, his current challenges that he's facing. As he navigates the fallout from this charity controversy, it is an opportunity for both Jirard and his audience to reflect on the impact of past experiences and on present actions and the importance of accountability and growth in the public eye. But it's not an excuse for poor judgment, more so an explanation. I've poured through hours upon hours of Jirard the Completionist videos to gather more intel, and big thanks to Completionist to Reddit for the assistance and posting really good insight regarding the family dynamic that Jirard has been facing this entire time and how it relates to the Open Hand Foundation. His dad is the one that started the charity. His dad is the one that runs the golf charity tournament. His dad is the one that owns 2 gas stations and is worth millions of dollars. There's so many questions behind the scenes, most of it not just focusing on Jirard the Completionist, but focused on Charles Khalil, the epicenter of all of this. And it's interesting to me that instead of Jirard pointing fingers at his dad, which no child that loves their parent would ever do, instead of doing that, he takes the approach of, don't talk about my family, don't say anything about them, focus on me, I want to take all of it. And it's like, you know what? I don't think you should do that, Jirard. I think in this case, you should separate yourself from your family and say, hey, they were doing some shady stuff. Clearly, I'm not a part of that. I don't condone it. I don't want anything to do with that. This is on them. Can you please stop focusing on me? And in a way, I feel like that's a get out of jail free card that Jirard could use as long as he throws his family under the bus in this situation, which clearly up to this point, he's not willing to do. But the more research I do on this situation, the more it makes sense that, yes, Jirard is in the wrong. And yes, he's done a lot of missteps and transgressions along the way. But ultimately, at the end of the day, he's not the biggest problem in all of this. He is just a pawn in a much bigger game. But for this video, I'm going to leave it there. If you want more information, I put the full story on smashjt.com. I will link it in the description. Thank you guys so much for watching. And as always, you stay smashing.
Things were so much easier when I was smaller. Not from a fame perspective or a money perspective, but from a joy perspective.
Smash JT. Smash JT. Smash JT. Smash JT. Smash JT.
Don't read into it, I swear to God.